All right. Sometimes we lose our way, not because we have strayed from the path, but because the path itself is disintegrating. Welcome to one of the most consequential turning points in the astrological year. With the March equinox only days away, we're almost at the end and on the brink of a whole new solar cycle. So it's hardly comforting to have a total lunar eclipse on March 14th. Staging what can only spell a final dramatic bow for the old year. For the Ides of March.
Yes, yep.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's the day after when Mercury goes retrograde.
Oh.
It goes retrograde on the Ides of March.
The Ides of March has carried a sinister scent of subversion, looming conspiracy, and betrayal that hidden forces may surface to topple whatever illusions are upholding our fragile little lives. With the sun in Pisces, something is always instrumental in dissolving our big ego. This time around, that foreboding is magnified tenfold by cosmic forces who are conspiring to dissolve certain known realities. The South Node lunar eclipses typically reign with a torrential undertow, promising to expose everything that our usual busyness manages to keep concealed. Further intensifying this meltdown, Neptune's alignment with the nodes has rendered everyone's emotional membranes so excruciatingly thin and nervous system so brittle, making us painfully sensitive to each other's stresses and flaws. Meanwhile, the presence of Saturn so near the Pisces sun adds a hefty gloom of cynicism, somewhat unfathomable yet deeply felt in our decisions and moods. We may lack an exact name for this kind of malaise.
I don't know, he has fancy words.
But as the funk seeps in, it warns us that illusions are melting away and we may not like what's about to replace them. I fucking love this dude. Eclipses by nature herald the grand unraveling of one's... That was the theme that I wrote about for this eclipse, was unraveling.
Interesting.
So he got it too.
He got it. He's in the field. He's tapped in now.
Yeah, he totally is. Eclipses by nature herald the great unraveling of one's stable frameworks, but an eclipse in Virgo tosses a spanner into the mechanics of logic, efficiency, and meticulous effort that we otherwise rely on to manage our lives. It harkens a letting go of rational solutions and carefully controlled systems and routines that right now feel hollow. By the time Earth's shadow fully obscures the moon on Friday, we might sense more than a subtle emotional chill. The entire scaffolding of purpose, belief, and coping capacity could shift, leaving us unsure how to tend to the chaos of our endless chores. All of this clears the path for a surprising new deal, though as we descend into these eclipses, it's anyone's guess what is about to emerge. Because this eclipse falls near the equinox and the Ides of March, we sense a most dramatic and intractable threat. Traditionally, these dates have been the most undermining times of the astrological year, signaling an abrupt switch from complacency to crisis. Fueled by this year's Neptune North Node alignment and the anaretic degrees of Pisces, a most antisocial air overcomes us, intensifying the sense that even our most wonderful illusions are coming undone. However stable we thought our social contracts or personal goals were, they can unravel in an instant, leaving us with a disquiet, outright cynicism. Combine this with the soon-to-be overshadowed Virgo moon, a moon famous for being meticulous to the point of neurosis. Dimming under the Earth's umbra, a stark question: are we simply all out of steam to keep refining and patching up every damn hole? Because instead of clarity, all we get is more muck, more nonsense. A mental or spiritual lethargy sets in, and the exasperating sensation that it's all gone to shit becomes overwhelmingly pervasive. You might notice it as a growing lack of motivation, a creeping resignation that no amount of toil or organization can right, or an uneasy realization that even the best run institutions, like supposedly our public health systems, bureaucracies, agriculture, and supply chains, are somehow completely tainted, poisoned, and have glaring inefficiencies. Some crises flare quietly, others have cataclysmic force. Internal leadership collapses, hidden mismanagement exposed, but the outcome is the same. Our usual fix-it mentality fails, where rational or technical solutions cannot seem to pierce the deeper degeneration. There is an apathy and hopelessness that sets in, yet eclipses aren't merely negative. By forcibly dimming the moon's light, they act as catalysts for the ultimate truth. Perhaps all of our busyness, our tired little routines that we play, perfectly curated self-images, meticulous accomplishments, doesn't stand as the main event. This is a lunar meltdown. Replete with its god-awful bloody hue, this can be a precipice for genuine self-inquiry, to ask ourselves if what we've always valued still aligns with our deeper sense of purpose. Things are changing and we sense the ending. Thus the Ides vibe is twofold. It can shock with ugly revelations or strip illusions we've let rule uncontested for too long. On the opposite side of the zodiac, we find the Sun conjoined with Saturn in Pisces, heavying the psychic atmosphere. Saturn's usual gig is to impose scrutiny, structure, and responsibility, but moving through watery Pisces, that iron fist dissolves in murky currents. Our once sturdy boundaries are now rusting before our eyes.
Oh no.
We look to authorities with worry, realizing it's been all too easy to rely on their show of control. Now even the illusion of stability and governance is fraying, leaving us uncertain of which threads are going to snap first. That uncertainty can produce a curious paralysis. We sense that the world's illusions are on the verge of collapse, but we cannot quite imagine what would replace them. I think that kind of really sums up the society's feelings right now.
Yep.
Fear turns into terror, and our worst nightmares about what might come to rule over us increasingly start to haunt us. The Sun-Saturn alignment in Pisces casts a grave shadow. We glance at the news, social media, our grandiose promises, and we see them failing. If the full-scale unraveling in Virgo warns that external details cannot be fixed, Saturn in Pisces insists on going in for an internal reckoning. Those who once felt safe behind logic may now glimpse how flimsy that exterior comfort was. While some will slip into private dread, others will cling to their faith in God or some golden idol, unsure if supernatural support is enough to counter such a widespread sense of decay. When all is lost, people will find refuge in the most abstract of places. In spiritual traditions, such a predicament might be framed as the dark night of the soul. This is not a clinical diagnosis, but a collective mood in which illusions vanish, leaving us to confront our deeper aches and our spiritual exhaustion. It is a state of soul sickness in which we realize that every pillar we ever relied on is struggling to keep the charade alive, and it is time to face the music. Complicating this energy is Mars continuing his creepy sidestep through Cancer.
That sounds about right.
Stirring emotional potencies without offering a clear line of attack. Normally, Mars opts for direct approach, fight back or push forward. But in Cancer, this turns inward, and when angered or aroused, we are sometimes seething inside, sometimes defensively coiled into the fetal position. Everything is personal here. This long-standing transit has produced a global global climate of moodiness as folks lash out at perceived intrusions on their security. If you sense tensions building at home, or you watch petty arguments spinning in your social circles, blame Mars and Cancer.
Oh my God.
Combine that with the Virgo moon's psychic collapse. It's easy for frustrations to boil over.
That makes sense.
That does. Mars is in a tense square with Chiron and Eris in Aries, amplifying what might already feel like an emotional minefield. Old wounds around identity or autonomy are rubbing raw against the nasty rebelliousness of Eris, creating a tinkerbox effect on both personal and societal scales. We are seeing clashes of unscripted outbursts, the kind of disputes that pull ancient resentments from all classes, races, and genders. Tensions are brewing. Friends or family groups are drifting towards showdowns. The watery vulnerability of Mars and Cancer cannot hold its own against these raw Aries energies. So we are left with a sense that any major confrontation could blow up. Meanwhile, Mercury is soon to join Venus retrograde in Aries, a sign that typically wants action now. But with these planets reversing, communication and relationship matters are falling into repetitive loops. We are revisiting the same old arguments or the same old desires, and we can't break through into new ground. If the astrological flashpoint in Virgo is sapping your willingness to micromanage every detail, you could find yourself drifting into these old tangles. Or you might attempt the Aries approach, a long overdue confrontation, only to watch it deteriorate into misunderstandings that somehow exhausts everybody. Meanwhile, Pluto sits on the outer fringes of Aquarius, snickering madly from beyond the grave, yet looming large at the failing state of all long-standing parties and affiliations of power, building force like a silent revolutionary jackhammer, poised to unleash an abrupt institutional fall, or unmask the entire system's moral decay without so much as a cosmic courtesy call.
Oh my God.
By the time these cataclysmic reveals register, most of us will be too drained to muster up more than a shrug. Any desire to react or reorganize our own revolt will fizzle in the face of such deep existential fatigue.
Oh my God.
But still, there is a fleeting trine from Uranus and Taurus to this eclipsed Virgo moon, which briefly dangles promising sparks of grassroots innovations and do-it-yourself societal fixes. Under normal skies, we might adopt these game-changing ideas, but with Virgo's rational framework sapped by our spiritual dryness, we might feel that no attempt at any methodical tweaking can help. Instead of rallying for new potentials, we are slumped under the weight of what feels like a soul-level depletion. Virgo is stressed severely under this soul-sapping eclipse.
Oh my God.
It struggles to bend. Instead, it snaps into a full-scaled purge, discarding all illusions and routines and possibly even real germs flushing out of the system.
Damn.
There is a ruthless neuroticism here, flushing the baby out with the bathwater if it means ending the grind of this empty busyness. So is this doom? Possibly. But eclipses often tear away superficial comfort so we can glimpse what truly matters. The dryness you feel might be the signal to drop the scripts that never fed your soul. If everything feels pointless, the key might be acceptance. Yield to the lull and let the illusions rot rather than trying to fix them. Listen to the silence for clues about what your deeper self is actually craving. Sometimes the only way forward is not a plan, but a pause. It's a simple case of less is more. The lunar meltdown hence becomes a portal. Worn-out routines and hollow beliefs can perish, making space for wholly unfiltered sincerity. And amongst all the minutiae of life, we need to find faith. A time may come once the dust settles, when you sense a twinge of renewed purpose, no longer driven by fear. Instead, the cosmic blueprint does not end with this Virgo demolition of the old order. There is an Aries solar eclipse just 2 weeks ahead that will jolt us back into the warrior energy, pushing for frontline action and raw independence. It spells every man, woman, and baby for itself.
Every baby for itself.
But before the fiery beginning, the infernal catapult is your dark chrysalis, an initiation rather than an ending. Let go of the illusions about the illusions. Let your soul's suffering be heard, and when the Aries spark arrives, you'll no doubt be clearer about what deserves your energy and what never did.
Damn. That was good.